Hey everyone, today I wanted to make a quick video about some paint that I bought that I plan on using in an upcoming keyboard project. This is Black 3.0 and Mirror by Stuart Semple. It's claimed that this is the world's blackest black paint and the mirrorest mirror paint. In this video, I'm really just going to be experimenting with how to use the paint. I'm not really an expert, so if you want to learn more about these paints, Stuart Semple did make a couple of YouTube videos about these paints, so go check those out. Alright, first off, let's head over to the Culture Hustle website and learn more about these paints. So starting off with Black 3.0, we can see that it claims to be the blackest paint in the world, and it can absorb up to 99% of light, which is pretty amazing. Here we can see the effect of the paint in practice. Some really cool effects going on here. And moving along, there's some important things that should be noted when using this paint. This is not a durable paint, it's fragile and it'll scratch off. So that means it wouldn't be a good idea to use this for a keycap because your fingers are going to be touching it a lot and it'll wear away really quickly. And also you're not supposed to put a top coat on this because that'll ruin the matte finish. So I was thinking about using it on the back of the keyboard, hopefully where it won't be touched by fingers a lot and it should stay preserved for a while. And things like rubber feet on the bottom of the keyboard will help protect it too, so it's not actually rubbing against anything. Alright, let's move along to mirror. So this mirror paint is a lot different than any other paint I've experienced in my entire life. I was really quite surprised about the size of the bottle. It's super tiny for the price, but the important thing to note is that it has really good coverage. That tiny bottle can cover up to 8 square feet of area, so it really does go a long way. Also, you can't wash your brushes with normal water. I did try washing my brushes with water, and the paint is like hydrophobic or something like that, so it doesn't mix with water. Water just kind of glides over it. That's why you're supposed to use some special cleaner for your paintbrushes in this case, which I did end up getting. Alright, now that we learned about the paint, I'm ready to test these out and see what they're all about. I'm not going to do any crazy experiments, I'm just testing out for the first time, seeing what it looks like in real life, and learning best practices along the way. For my first test, I'm just testing the paint on some paper. I recorded this footage before I actually learned how to handle the paint properly, so I was a bit impatient waiting for the paint to dry. I didn't fully let the paint dry before adding new coats, which kind of led to some inconsistencies that you see later on. Alright, after it was fully dry, let's take a look at the results. So yeah, there's some dark spots, some lighter spots. Might not show up that well on YouTube, but in real life, there is definitely a darker zone and a lighter zone. And now I wanted to test the light absorbing properties of it, so I just took out my phone, turned the flash on, and put it behind the paper. You can see when I move the light behind the paint that the light completely disappears, which is exactly what I was going for. Because I'm so committed to YouTube, I invested in some filming lights, and these will just help improve the lighting for when I record future videos. So I know that these get really bright, and I wanted to test how the paint looks with these. And when I put it up against the light, absolutely no light gets past the paint. My second go around, I decided to use plastic instead of paper because that's the material I'm most likely going to be using. First I applied the black, and then I applied the mirror. This time around, I was more careful about waiting for the black to completely dry before adding multiple coats. I ended up using around 3 coats, waiting about 2 hours in between, and letting the whole thing dry overnight. As I was applying the paint, it was pretty clear that the black paint was having a hard time sticking to the keycap, but the mirror paint was doing a great job. Here we can take a look at the final result of the keycaps. The black is nice and dark. Considering all the lights that I have pointed at it, it is actually super dark. I don't know how it will show up on YouTube, but you definitely can still tell the difference between all the different sides. It does absorb a lot of light, but it isn't completely dark, which is to be expected. Let's take a look at the mirror keycap. Because the keycap isn't a completely flat, smooth surface, it does have a bumpy texture to it, but overall it looks really cool. It looks like it's actually made of metal, and it reflects the light of my fingertips pretty well. Alright, now that I had enough time to experiment with the paint, let's go over what I learned. So first off with Black 3.0, when applying Black 3.0, you want to wait until the black is completely dry before adding another coat on top. So this means waiting up to 2 hours for your first coat to dry. When I was using it on the keycap, it was having a hard time sticking to the plastic, so a good idea would be to use this on top of a primer. And the last thing to remember is you're not supposed to apply a top coat when using this, because that'll ruin the matte finish. Alright, mirror is pretty unique. The important thing to note is that even though it comes in a tiny package, it has a lot of coverage, so a little bit will go a long way. Don't soak your entire paintbrush in the bottle, that'll be very wasteful. You only need a little bit to cover the tip of your paintbrush. Also, the type of paintbrush that you use really affects how the end result is going to look. Use a soft paintbrush that won't leave any streak marks in the paint. And lastly, make sure you wash your paintbrushes with a paintbrush cleaner. Don't use water because that won't work. Alright, with all that in mind, let's take a look at why I planned on using these paints in the first place. Here's a sneak preview of my upcoming Ani-mech project. So this is a frosted acrylic case from KBD fans with an RGB underglow PCB. The combo together creates this effect where light completely fills the entire case. So the reason I wanted to test out the world's blackest paint is because when you turn it around, you see all these hot spots where all the LEDs are located. Now these hot spots will get pretty annoying if I try to paint over them, then they'll bleed through the paint, warping the colors, and make whatever I paint to look really bad. So if I just take the paper that I had before and I cover up the LEDs, you can see that the light still goes through the paper, but on the part covered by the black paint, you can't see those hotspots anymore. And with that, then I can paint my design over the black paint and there won't be any annoying hotspots on the finalized design. Alright, with all that being said, this video is pretty much done. Make sure you get subscribed. The next episode of Ani-mech should be coming out next week, so stay tuned for that. Follow me on Twitter for updates, and support me on Patreon if you like the videos. Thanks for watching.